Here I am Dr. Hrishikesh Kumar at sidelines of INK Movement Disorders Masterclass in Kolkata, India on 27 July 2019. It's indeed an honor and happy privilege to present the living legend of movement disorders, a man who is known for his wits and wisdom, Prof Kailash Bhatia. Kailash, a warm welcome to you in this historical city of Kolkata or Calcutta, and thank you for taking time to honor our request. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rishi. It's a pleasure to be here and chat with you this morning.
Wonderful.
In this very nice setting.
So can I start that I can tell you one thing, that you are the reason for me joining movement disorders. If you don't recall, I can hand over the email you sent long back. That was 2006. And that was the start of movement disorders for me.
I must say I'd forgotten about this, but obviously you already had an interest and you wrote such a nice summary of that case. So you were already in the direction.
I had interest, but I wanted something to start.
Indeed.
So that was 13 years back. And same is true for a lot of your students. Now, may I ask you one thing, that how do you feel being part of this revolution of movement disorders in India and I would say in the globe, where you are the key to nudge youngsters towards this specialty?
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm the key, but obviously the interest in movement disorders has grown in this period of time. I think the real fathers were David Marsden and Stan Farn and others, and we have been following them, and then we have been, an inspiration for a lot of people in India who have been therefore following with us in movement disorders. So it's a great thing that so many people are interested in movement disorders. You can see how big the Movement Disorder International Society has grown, and even the Indian Movement Disorder Society chapter has a large number of members. So movement disorder is an exciting field, I think. It's easier to relate to this perhaps than other things in neurology. So it's an exciting area, and I think that's one of the reasons why people get into it. And of course there are the luminaries already there, and people want to emulate them, and many of them in fact have been quite successful, like yourself.
Thank you. This is humility, you know that. You are one of the luminaries. So you agree or not that, but I would say that dozens of people of India, they have joined movement disorders because of you, because of seeing you and because of learning to lectures. You have inspired, no doubt about that. But what made you join neurology, and especially movement disorders? Was it just a chance, or it was planned well before in the career?
Well, I don't think I decided to do neurology when I joined medicine. And also, if you remember, a lot of us I would be lying if I said I joined medicine to be an altruistic person, to do good things for the humankind. In those days in India, the success was measured only in two ways. Either you joined medicine or engineering, and all the parents would push you to this. And between the two, I was clear that I was more of a biology man rather than an engineering man, and I joined medicine. And I think the reason I joined neurology was after I saw Hrishikesh Bhatia once giving a tutorial, and I happened to attend that, and he came in to the door, and we heard some rustling noise outside. Before that, some steps. And then he came in and he said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Hear what?" All of us said. And he was trying to show us the different gates and the sounds different gates make. And he was really inspiring. And it was at that time I thought, this seems like a very interesting field. So much to the dismay of my father, who thought that neurology would not earn me a lot of money, but cardiology would, I decided to go for neurology, mainly because of Hrishikesh, having seen him giving these fantastic tutorials, and I thought that's what I want to do. And that's how I got into neurology, yes.
No, what a great man he was, Hrishikesh Bhatia, and it's a big loss for us to lose him. He's a great man. Then you moved to UK, London. What made you move to London? And we heard about your association with Anita Harding to start with.
Well, and again, I didn't have any this that I would go abroad, or I finished my DM neurology from Mumbai, and then I had this feeling that I was not complete somehow, that I wanted to do something in research. And that's when I went back to Noshir Wadia, and I asked him if I can do some research, and he asked me, why don't you just join practice? There are very few neurologists, you'll make money. And I said, no, I feel I'm not complete, I want to do something more. And after a few months, he gave me a project on multiple sclerosis in Parsis. And I remember doing this very avidly and thoroughly, and then writing a paper. And Wadia asked me to send it to Neurology India. But I knew I had done a pretty good study, a proper study. I had contacted Kurtzky, I had done a case control study, and I asked him if I can send the paper to Annals of Neurology. And he said that there's never been a paper till that time from India published in the Annals of Neurology. I managed to send it, and luckily it was accepted. And then Wadia thought maybe there's something about me, and he asked me, he said, I think you should go abroad. I said, where would I go? And then by chance, Anita Harding was come down for the World Congress of Neurology, in, I think it was 89 or 90, in Delhi, and she had to go for a trek to Kashmir, and there was a problem in Kashmir, so she couldn't go. And he asked me to meet her, since I used to go trekking in the Himalayas, to give her a alternative route to go somewhere else. And that's how I met Anita. And that sort of paved the way, but also since Wadia was interested in ataxias, and Anita was now the upcoming star in ataxias. The idea was that I would go to England and look at our genetic, our families with OPCA, as Wadia would call it, and he believed that our Wadia Swami OPCA would be a different one, and subsequently it turned out to be SCA2. But that's how I met Anita, and finally came to England through a small grant which Wadia arranged for me, very small amount of money, but on a loan basis. And I reached England with £2,000 for 6 months. So I was very impoverished at that time.
That's quite a story. We have not seen David Marsden. I have not seen David Marsden, and you have seen very closely. And I can remember that how beautifully you arranged that David Marsden meet a few months back. So, can you say something about that man? Because you're so close, and he was still revered. He is ever present. So, can you say something about him?
Well, as I said, I came to work with Anita, and David was obviously the chairman of the department, and I had heard about him. But I also heard that he had these book rounds where he would sit down and he had sandwiches. And I told you I was very impoverished. So I heard that, oh, there's free lunch. So I went for his book round and got into a little bit of a argument with him over a case which led to his interest in me. And since then we started an association for many years. He offered me a fellowship after I finished with Anita. And I worked with him for almost 6 years, which was, I think, one of the best times of my life. So I was able to write many papers, do many things with him, get to know him. David was a complex man. He was absolutely enigmatic, probably the most brilliant man I've ever known in my life, but also shy and reclusive. A complex man, but a wonderful man. And I think I was privileged that I could spend so much time with him, and I was his last fellow. And towards the end, we were more friends than a fellow and mentor. And it was very tragic that he passed away well before he should have. He was only 58 when he passed away. So. Incredible loss to the movement disorder fraternity and to neurology and to the world in general.
No, you did very well to do that conference where you met him alive at that time. I was there a whole day, and you met him alive.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very nice that all these people. It just shows you how much regard all his the people he had trained have. We had everybody from, Jose Obezo, Tony Lang, Mark Hallett, all of these previous fellows, and you can see what amazing fellows he had, who are now really the biggest leaders in the field. So that's again a testimony to how amazing he was.
So what is seeing you? Of course, you are icon right now. Mandajog, who was my mentor at one point in time, and still he keeps on helping me. Kapil Sethi, who is fun to be with. Yes. You all moved from India, went abroad, and made your name. Yes. Made your name among greats like Tony Lang, like Joe Jankovic, Stanley Fan, and of course, Marsden. How could you manage this?
I think it's luck, and you happen to be at the right place at the right time. Of course, you put in your efforts and you have to have the ability. And I'm not sure whether I consider myself as one of the greats, but I think I feel that I'm happy that I made my contribution, and it has been well regarded. And that's what one wants from one's peers and colleagues, that you are regarded well, and I'm happy I've been able to do that. I've had a very good number of fellows from all over the world, and a little school of myself, so I'm very proud to see many of my fellows doing so well in the field, and that gives you the joy. That's what you sort of feel, that if Marsden and Anita made me, then I've been able to pass that on and get other people ahead in life as well. So yeah, it's fulfilling and satisfying to see your students up on the podium themselves.
I would say that I'm proud to be called myself as Bhatia School of Thought.
As you are, indeed.
And digressing a bit, I've seen you first time 2005 or 6. You came for a conference in Mumbai. I went there. And then I met you in Jaipur, of course. So what I see that you are one of the most preserved specimen of neurology. Because I don't see any change since what I saw you 13 years back. And another person I would say is Mohit Bhatt, of course. But you have been the most preserved specimen, I would say. How did you manage that? And what is the fitness regime?
Well, I don't know if I'm the most preserved specimen, as you call me. Specimen, certainly. I tend to look after myself a little bit. I don't have any particular regime or anything like that. I travel a lot, and I wish I could do more actually, but I think it's partly genetic also. My father was well preserved till old age, so I consider myself fortunate. I don't think there's any particular mantra in that, no.
Now if you calculate the number of summers you have spent in UK as compared to what you spent in India, UK you have been for quite some time, isn't it? Maybe 25 years or so?
More than 25 years.
More than 25 years. Still, how much you consider yourself as Indian by heart? How much India is there in you?
This is the Tebet test again. I think the Indian, at heart remains an Indian at heart, particularly in the first generation, which I am. So you remember Tebet had this acid test about which country you support when India is playing England in cricket. Yeah. And I must say that my heart is still with India in that regard, so I would certainly support India when it comes to cricket and many other things. But England has given me a lot of opportunities, and I think they have been very fair to me. So at heart, of course, my heart is here in India.
Oh, I can vouch for that, because I remember you being very sad after India was knocked out in World Cup in 2006-07, and I was there at the time.
Yes, so yes, I get very sad when India gets knocked out early, and I get very joyous when we do well. So yes, absolutely, I'm an avid fan of cricket.
Yeah, I know that. In a way, what my personal experience is that when you are outside, you are more patriotic, because you see people from England, you see from Pakistan, you have this upmanship that yes, we won.
Yes, I think so. That's true, because you're nostalgic for your country in a sense. Yeah.
And you have people whom you have discussed. Pakistani is there in front of you. After the match, he is down if India wins. Okay, moving on. Concept of movement disorders have changed quite a bit, isn't it, since the era of Mars then? Mm-hmm. And you have been in the nerve center of this change. You have seen it. You have done it all, isn't it? So how do you see movement disorders 50 years down the road, 50 years later? Do you feel that clinical movement disorders will be dead, taken over by genetics and sensor-based assessment?
Yeah, I think almost everybody is asking this question, and there has to be an association between the gene and the phenotype. So whatever you feed in, even into your data sets, ultimately comes from the clinical data which has been gathered and associated with a particular gene. So I think, in fact, this is a more challenging time for the clinicians. You have to be even better to make the syndromes which are associated with one gene, because one gene, as you know, can cause many phenotypes, and one phenotype can be caused by many different genes. And we have to be discriminant enough to be able to say and separate this out. It reminds me of the time before when people was talking about lumping and splitting, and there were the lumpers and splitters, and this cycle carries on. We will have to be even better clinicians for the future. Yes, once things are defined, then you may have databases and artificial intelligence which can make a connection between different keywords, but those keywords and the findings has to be done by the clinician, at least so far. So yes, I think the next 10 or 15 years still, at least, I feel that it's a very important time for the clinician.
Oh, that's great. I feel that this will never die. Clinical science will never die. This will be the mother of all sciences.
One can never say never, but I think currently, at least, it is a big scope for clinicians, yes.
Now, can I ask something about your childhood? Because I have mental picture of your parents. I have not met them, but I can see that your father was a wonderful photographer. He was kind and upright man. This is what I feel. Your mother is a very caring lady. I saw the photograph that day, and I think she has instilled values into you. So how much they influenced you, and how was your childhood was?
My childhood was very secure and middle-class family, and my main inspiration has been my father, who was intellectual, who was a do-it-all type of person, and my mother was a housewife giving the support at home. Yeah, I had a very secure and I would say happy childhood, where I was sure that come what may, my father and my parents were there for me. And I think that's a very good feeling to have when you are growing up. I must say that he was a big inspiration for me in many ways.
And then, can you share something about residency days, neurology, DM neurology days in Mumbai?
Neurology was really fantastic because we had a DM student to Dr. Sarosh Khatrak, who was he's really excellent. He taught me how to be very careful with the science, how to make the connections between the literature and what you're seeing. I learned a lot from him about the literature. So I think he really put the basics right for me. And then, of course, we had Dr. Singhal in the same department. We had the advantage of also going to see Naushir Wadia. So you couldn't have asked for a better group of teachers. So I've been very, very fortunate in that regard. And after that, of course, followed by Anita Harding and Marsden. So it was a really privilege to be taught by such amazing people.
Prof Bhatia, if you have to start all over again, would you like to go to the same path, or would you think of something else?
As I said, I've been very fortunate in what I've managed and lucky. So yes, I would probably do the same if I had the opportunity. I don't have regrets in that regard. So certainly I think I would do. Maybe there will be a few things I might have done better. But overall, if you asked me, would you consider the same path? I would say yes, I've been fortunate and I would.
Now, a question is, say, hypothetical. Suppose you had not moved out of India. What do you feel that where would have been?
That has been one really major, I would say, I wouldn't call it a regret, but certainly a major question I have to myself at times, particularly as my parents aged and I have had difficulty trying to keep myself in London, but also trying to help them here. And I always wondered whether if I had not left, would I have done a better job in looking after them. And I wondered about what my career might have been if I had been in India. The Indian neurologists are fantastic, I think. But you know, practice here is challenging. Certainly doing academics here is even more challenging. And in that regard, I think people like yourself have to be given great credit because you've managed so much despite these difficulties here. So would I have been an academic? Perhaps, maybe I would have. I think practice has been so difficult here in India and I might have been consumed by that. So I really can't say because I made the choice to go. But it is an interesting question which I ask myself. I particularly ask it when I have this problem when I'm trying to come and attend to my parents. My father died recently. My mother is very elderly and infirm and I've had difficulties keeping myself on both sides.
In that, when Kailash, I can tell you that you have done a wonderful job. The reason is that my personal experiences, I'm here, but I'm not able to give enough time to my parents. And you are coming all over from England and you have given enough time. And I know that your mom is not doing well and our well wishes for her, our good wishes for her. The question just arises from your comment that working in India is a challenge, is really a challenge. And you have seen both sides of fence. That you have seen here, you are seeing here right now, and you're working here. So how do you feel overall, not individual, overall the Indian neurologists are coping?
Well, I think in India, you also have the benefits in the social structure, the social standing. The number of neurologists in India are relatively few. You work very hard, but you also do well economically and mostly also very well socially. So you're well connected in the social system, you have a stature and so on. The difference in the abroad, in the UK for example, is that yes, you are a doctor, but that's not the only thing. Society doesn't define you with that. You are like while in India you get a very good standing in the social system, and this may or may not be important, but I think the Indian neurologists and the Indian doctors in general can feel fulfilled in the work they are doing, the economic point of view and the social point of view.
And coming to movement disorders, we have seen that last 5 years or so, maybe 10 years, the scene in India in movement disorders has suddenly, they're making noise now because they're present now.
They're always making noise.
And, and now we have active MDSI group, Movement Society of India group.
Yes.
And you are part of WhatsApp, you can see that how much enthusiastic they are.
Yes.
How do you feel about this?
No, I feel very good that they have organized themselves. The important thing, whenever you say making noise, meaning making your presence felt, it's very important that you're able to make your presence felt in a bigger way if you're organized. So that's why I think putting together the Movement Disorders Society of India is a major step, because you can now as a group have a voice, and this feeling that you want to be represented on the international scene is easier when you have a grouping rather than as individuals. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and I'm sure that given the enthusiasm and really the population of the patients, of rare things and other things have still to be discovered from India. So this will be a major, in the future, a major findings I think going to come out from these countries, and you will be in the forefront automatically in the international scene.
But I can say that still we are far behind. So we are not doing justice to the numbers we have, to the capabilities we have. So any suggestion to Movement Disorders Forum from your side?
Well, as I said, the first step is to organize, and that has been done. Now I think the next step is to collaborate and keep aside small differences of personal, everyone wants to be obviously well recognized, but collaboration is the way forward. So making describing 2 cases as an individual versus describing 600 or 500 cases of a rare entity makes a difference. And by collaborating, you will be able to wield more power. And I think that's the way forward. In the past, when I was here in India, when I was younger, I used to feel that there were too many groups, who were polarized and were finding it difficult to work with each other. I feel that is now less, and I think there is a collaborative spirit in the younger people like yourself and others. So this is a very good thing. This will go a long way forward in bringing all of you up onto the international stage.
I agree. Still, I feel that sometimes people feel that 2 cases with first author of myself is better than having 100 cases with I am somewhere in between. So that mindset has to be changed to make some difference.
Indeed, and I think again the thing here is that there is enough for everybody. So maybe the 2 cases of one particular condition or 100 cases of one particular condition can be done by one person, but there is enough for someone else to do. So this sort of give and take has to be achieved. And I mean, of course, there are rivalries and difficulties in this context, even abroad, but India's people are no different. But the collaborative spirit has to be gained for the bigger good, for the larger good.
True. Now, if you see from clinician's perspective, I find you as one of the rare clinicians who understands basic science very well. And you have learned about it, you have taught about it, you have made strong collaboration with basic scientists like John Rothwell. How did you manage this? Generally what happens, clinicians, we think that we are clinicians, and basic scientists, we think they are basic scientists, but you are bridging between the two.
I wouldn't say that I understand basic science as such. I would say that I've dabbled a bit in genetics, and I've been fortunate to have some collaborations with people like John Rothwell. I think how I see myself is that I can make connections with some of the basic science type of questions which you may apply to your clinical setting, in the clinical setting. That's how I would say it. But I don't think I have the depth in basic science at all. So I'm a clinician, and I can apply some of the things which I hear are happening in the more basic sciences in a translational way to answer some of the queries. So yes, but otherwise I don't think I would say that I am a basic scientist, no.
But I've seen your papers, and I can understand that you have enough understanding.
I can ask the
Which is really relevant for
questions.
clinics.
Yeah, and get people to answer them, yes.
You have been in the board of editors. You have been editor of high quality journals. Yes. So if I ask you one question from people who submit papers from India, that what is your suggestion so that we are a little more publishable?
I think the Indian authors are now really coming to the fore, and you've seen that we have a number of papers published in Movement Disorders Clinical Practice from India, because we are a clinical journal per se. So if I have any advice for people is that you got to sell something which is new, okay? So even if you are providing a paper of a clinical series, there has to be something which stands out, and the recognition of how I can sell this data or is to bring out the originality, the newness in it, is very important for people to learn. Once you can do that, then it is, you find that you have more acceptances than rejection. We all get papers rejected, so that's not a problem. But one has to know how to be able to bring out the newness or a new idea from the data sets which you have. And you have a lot of opportunity in India for doing that.
So all the time they ask that what is your message to students, which you have already suggested. But if I ask you, in fact you have answered already, but still I'll rephrase it, that what is your suggestion or message to mid-career movement disorders? They have started, after a few years they are finding that you're going nowhere. What is your suggestion to them?
I don't know if they're going nowhere, but I think it's important to learn your basics properly, have a clinical but also an academic mindset, and try and find a good mentor like yourself or somebody else, so that you can be channelizing, you're able to, through the mentorship, channelize in an appropriate way. What happens is that if you don't get good mentors, then you are floundering about, unable to find the direction. So I think the advice to them would be to identify good mentors and then get the mentorship and then get onto a path themselves.
I've heard stories about your motorbike when you were resident in Mumbai. And I also heard that ladies swooned over you as well as motorbike.
That I don't know.
And I know that you possess a wonderful bicycle nowadays. I've seen the picture and I fell for it. So what is this fetish about the wheel things?
Well, when I was young, you're a bit, I think you're a bit impulsive. But I used to like riding motorbikes, and I had a sort of a deal with my father that if I got into neurology, I would get one of the big bikes. So I had a little collection of motorbikes in Mumbai when I was there. And I was a bit, I must say, a bit careless and dangerous driving. I don't think I would do that nowadays, but you're young and that time you feel you are immortal and nothing can happen to you, so you take risks. So yes, on a motorbike it was, I used to enjoy riding, but I had some very close calls as well. And one particular one, so in India at that time very few people wore helmets. So although I possessed a helmet, in fact sent to me by Peter Misra from London, but he was already there, I wouldn't wear it. But one night I did wear it, went for a movie, came back, and I had an accident, and thanks to the helmet, which was cracked in half, I didn't sustain any injuries. So yes, those were hair-raising days. We used to be quite reckless riding motorbikes, and it was fun as well. I don't think I would do it now. Yes. And nowadays I have restricted to a little cycle. I have a nice cycle, and I cycle to work 3 times a week or so, and twice I drive. So yes, I think two-wheelers are, I like two-wheelers and the freedom they give.
I saw you once when you were leaving your office in Queen Square. You were in a whole bike suit. There was a black bike suit right from the top to bottom. And that opened the window to me that you love this.
So I have technical clothes. In London you need clothes because the weather is so different, and so it can be cold or it can be warm. So accordingly I have the professional clothing for that.
What I like about your personality, I would say, that you are academically brilliant, you have achieved a lot. Very few people are able to do this. Still you are rooted, still you are grounded. When I see your friends are all, everywhere you have friends. And I love particularly the chemistry between you and Mohit Bhatt and Charu. So Can you tell how you manage this for decades altogether?
Well, chemistry is not managed. Chemistry just happens.
Just happens.
So
that's a good answer.
There's some people you like and you get along with, and that's how it is.
And if I'm allowed to ask a question, that we have heard that Mohit Bhatt shares with you almost every day some movement disorders videos.
Yes.
For patient privacy, I won't ask what it is, but I expect a wry smile on your face on that.
Now, Mohit and me are close, so he shares many things with me. Some are appropriate and some are slightly inappropriate, but that's the nature of the game, and it's fun, getting his videos of patients and other things. Yes.
Yeah, going to the Mumbai days, you told that your career was influenced by Hrishikesh Bhatia, of course, Dr. Katrak,
Yes.
Dr. Singhal. But if I ask you that if you have to give one message to them, wherever Dr. Bhatia is, or Dr. Katrak, or Dr. Singhal,
I would say thank you. That would be my main message, that they took their interest in me and they put me on, in the field, so as to say. So, yes, I'm very thankful to them.
And we know that you wear many hats. You are a clinician, you are a researcher, you are an avid runner. I remember the run on the Rajpath when myself, yourself and Mohit Bhatt ran for quite some, maybe 10 kilometers or so. That's fun. You are a biker. So how important, and trekker also, because I've seen photographs, amazing photographs of your trekking. So how important is this to maintain that passion for a clinician?
Yeah, I think, you must have something outside your main area, academic area. So I find trekking in the mountains quite meditative. So also running, for example. I don't run too much, but I make sure that I run at least 2-3 times a week. And I do small runs, 5-6 kilometers. Occasionally I do half a marathon or something like that, but nowadays my knees are not so good and I have to be careful with the amount I run. But I find it soothing and meditative, yes.
Now what I've seen that you travel a lot for work, you work a lot. In Queen Square, you stay till late. So how do you manage your time for the family? Because we call about work-life balance. Indeed. So how do you manage that? Or is it a myth? Is it very difficult, almost impossible to manage it?
Yeah, I think we academics are rather driven and we tend to forget about the work-life balance sometimes. And I must say I've been guilty of that in the past at least. Nowadays I try a little more to spend some time, quality time with my family. But you have so many different persuasions where you have to meet deadlines and so on. Sometimes this can be difficult. But I think rather than spending time for the heck of it, it is probably a good idea to spend quality time, have a nice holiday together. And I'm fortunate that my family understands what I do and they're very supportive to me.
Now let's fast forward, say, a few decades ahead, and you're retired. How do you plan your retirement? What will you do in the retirement? You'll keep on movement disorders or you'll do something else?
My wife says that I'll never retire because she can't see me retiring. And I think I have never thought about what I'll do when I retire because I haven't thought about retiring as such. But I think if I do decide to retire, I will probably only marginally do this, and I would like to find something else to do. One of my other passions when I was younger was to write, and maybe that's something I might do more seriously if I had the time. So I'm not talking about medical writing, I'm talking about non-medical writing.
But I heard that you're writing something, right, nowadays? Or
I've been trying to write a little a book based on my experiences in India when I was doing the casualty in Bombay. has kept a little diary of some events which happened and trying to weave them together. But it's going very slowly and I haven't managed to do anything.
That's fair. You don't have time right now, so.
We'll see.
Yeah, that is a very easy question. Okay. Do you still read movement disorders? Do you still read textbooks?
I don't read textbooks, but because I'm an editor, I have to read quite a few articles. I wouldn't say that I read them page to page, but I get a little outline.
I would say you make textbooks.
I don't read textbooks.
Your favorite pastime?
Cricket.
Wonderful. Your favorite book?
Don't get much time to read books at the moment.
Will you sell your Ferrari to go to Himalayas?
Yes.
Good.
If I had a Ferrari, that is.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? It's just difficult. Favorite movie? I can't think of a favorite movie. There are a number of movies. Maybe the Godfather series.
One place we like to visit next year, alone.
I wouldn't mind doing a trek in the Himalayas, the so-called Chadar trek.
Yeah, heard about that. I'll come with you.
You'll come with me.
What is similar between Donald Trump and Boris Johnson?
What is what?
What is similar between Donald Trump and Boris Johnson?
They're both blonde.
Yeah. One regret in life, if you have?
Didn't spend as much time as I would like to with my parents.
If God is standing here, what one wish you like to be fulfilled? What will ask him?
If God was standing there, what would I ask him? I would say if it happens again, make me even better than what I am in the things I do in the future.
Once you are gone, maybe 1 century later, how do you like yourself to be remembered?
I don't think I have any, once I'm gone, that I want myself to be remembered as anything particular. You got to do things in life while you're alive rather than worry about what you'll be remembered as. So.
Political correctness, for or against?
If possible, but at times it is a good idea to deviate from the path if necessary.
And if your wife doesn't mind, a lady you like to date?
A lady I would like to date?
Which lady you like to date?
Well, I don't think I would like to date any particular lady, and I certainly have to ask my wife.
Kailash, it was an absolute pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Rishi.
I hope that we'll get this chance again, on and off beer.
Thank you very much, Rishi.
All the best for you and your family.
Thank you.
Keep guiding us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.